Yo, Jonathan here. I might delete this or throw it unlisted for channel members, but I just really wanted to make something. This past week, 2 weeks really, kicked my ass, and honestly, I kind of just feel like shit. Apologies for the PG-13 intro, but it's been a PG-13 kind of couple weeks. I miss making videos just to make videos. I recently stumbled across a David DeFranco video, shout out David, and he was just talking about chicken strips. It felt like what YouTube used to be, and I miss that. In general, I still feel like I'm making a ton of progress, but it can absolutely be frustrating or disheartening when a friend or someone closer will ask, "Oh, you're like better now, right?" And it's like, I'm better, but there's still a lot to deal with. So when the response to that is, "Oh, so you're still dealing with that," that can definitely just make me feel a little sad. Ultimately, I get it because I think even a version of myself 3 or 4 years ago wouldn't have understood any of this. So if you guys have specific questions, drop them down below. I'll be in the comments for the first 30 minutes of this video going live. And then on that same token, there's the comment or response of, "Oh, you must be so good and great and completely perfect after the GoFundMe." And it's like, man, that one really makes me sad because truthfully, if I could sit here and get back to a place where I could pay every single person back, I would. I don't think it sometimes registers how much not working for a year and a half and everything imploding and medical bills piling up and needing to continue to work through therapies and appointments all really adds up to. And I think, again, my whole pitch from that video was, hey, as hard as it is, this is me asking for help so I can get from point A to point B where I can at least get to that next step where then I can work and start to really chip away at everything. And truthfully, as hard as that has all been, I feel like I've gotten to that next step where now I can put in that work. And really the only thing I need from you guys is just to keep watching, supporting, commenting, and that is it. So many of you have been incredible with the comments and watching. There's been definitely way more momentum on the channel than there's been in a long time. The last video flopped, and I think that's also a point I'd love to talk about where it feels really good to not let something like that affect me. Granted, I wanted the video to do better. I like the product. I put in a ton of work. I think it's objectively a solid video. So if you've missed that, definitely check it out. But sometimes you're kind of just up in the air to the YouTube algorithm gods. You can have a solid video, you could have solid click-through, and then the impressions are dog shit. And that's just how it goes sometimes. But I think really from where I'm coming from and the last couple of years that I've had, a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, there are so many worse things out there. And again, just being able to make a video, I think for me is such a pleasure and a joy. On one hand, videos are everything, but at the same time, they're also nothing, if that makes sense. And I get that this is a lot of our careers and livelihoods, and sometimes that can be stressful because that's ultimately how you might make it out there. But again, the point here is that a video not doing well should not be a detriment to your mental health or impact your life because there are so many more important things out there. So my life revolves around three things: upper cervical neck care, vision, and brain rehabilitation, and then more recently, physical therapy, which has made a tremendous, tremendous difference.
Okay, we're gonna breathe in big, and we're thinking about elongating your head. We're pulling your head up towards the sky, pulling the scapula down, elongating your arms.
There's so many stabilizers.
Breathe big. We're working hard. 3, 2, 1. Big inhale. Let's go ahead and come on down with it. Woo!
Getting back to that Insta360 video, I took a pretty gnarly fall. Well, maybe you won't yell at me. You might yell at me. I was working on a video and I got rollerblades.
Oh my God.
It was going pretty smoothly.
Until?
I got a little confident.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. Jesus, Jonathan.
The wild thing is though, with the exception of a scratch and a little bit of soreness, I was completely fine from that fall. I talked a bit about it where I think all of the physical therapy work over the last couple months really just primed me for that fall to where I landed properly. I was strong enough to support my head and not have it whip back and hit the concrete. Again, don't be an idiot like me, wear a helmet, but it was just super encouraging to have something like that happen and then be okay. Shout out to Dr. Hafer and then Kenny and Henry for all the work you guys do. If you want to check them out, I will have them linked down in the description. So as encouraging as that was, if it's not one thing, it's another. And while I was completely fine from that fall, at the same time, my body was also like, "Fuck you, dude." While this last couple of years has definitely been the hardest stuff I've ever dealt with, I actually had a bunch of immune problems probably over 10 years ago that was stomach based. And I think towards the end of 2024, I had a flare up with shingles. Things got really bad pain wise. And pretty much from, I would say, November of 2024 through February of this year, it was really bad. To the point where I would say from the occipital neuralgia and the nerve pain / damage, pain was probably about an 8 or 9 every single day. And because of that, I was relying on Motrin every single day, just something to try and help the pain. It wasn't an absurd amount. I was trying to stay within a reasonable limit every single day. But again, having it every single day, I think wreaked havoc on my stomach, which is actually some of the problems that I dealt with way back when. If you can avoid Motrin, Advil, Aleve, please definitely do that because it will wreak havoc on your stomach. I got to this point where I had a couple days where I could not physically even hold down water. And I'm all too familiar with that pain from before where it feels like someone takes a knife and scrapes you from the inside of your stomach. I would not recommend. That also came with a pretty intense fever. I think Oura Ring caught one of the nights where my heart rate was just about 100 through the entire night and definitely really just taxed my system. The byproduct of that is it kind of just amplifies everything else. And when your immune system is down, that also just kind of opens up the door for everything else to run wild. So just insane body fatigue to the point where it feels like your limbs and arms are quicksand or lead and everything is almost impossible to move or just to take a step. That also leads to body chills and just like no energy. No matter what you do, no matter how much you sleep, you just feel like death. That then also ramps up inflammation, and I cannot stand what it does to me cognitively to where it just kind of feels like my brain is on fire. And the best way I would describe that is if you've ever had brain fog or a really bad head cold, it feels like that times 1,000 to where everything between the eyes is just on fire. And then you combine that with the nerve pain and that fatigue and those body aches, and it's just a pretty terrible combination. Some of those days you wake up and you just know they're going to be terrible days. As much as you try to will yourself through it or just pretend it's not there, you cannot avoid it. So I think that's really where it requires a lot of patience, to where you just got to know, okay, this is a storm or a cloud for the day. Let me get through it the best way I can. And hopefully tomorrow is a better one. When those days turn into multiple days or into weeks, it can definitely be frustrating and disheartening. But I think sometimes what helps me is knowing that A, there has been progress. B, it's so much better than it was before. And a lot of the times I will actually just envision and daydream and picture what it feels like to be completely better. And that really just helps me push through to hopefully one of these days get to that point. Speaking of nights, future Jonathan here, wanting to get this video out, but it was a similar night last night where woke up, Oura Ring is yelling at me that my system is strained, body temperature's up. So it's just been a weird couple of weeks where my body is just fighting itself or fighting bad things, but it's frustrating, but it's part of the process. And I think, again, I just kind of envision what normal might feel like, and that helps me through days like yesterday and today where I just feel depleted. The other reason that I want to keep making these videos and talking about it is just in the off chance that it helps someone. I've seen comments of people who maybe couldn't find an answer and maybe have a better idea now, and that's super encouraging. There's a lot of similarities with what shingles does to your brain and your nervous system to something like MS, so I've seen those comments as well. On that topic, it's such a wild thing to just feel your nervous system shut down to where it feels like you're blue screening. Things get tougher to comprehend. You could hear words and they don't make sense. Your hands start to go weak. It feels like you can't grip or even grab something. So for those of you out there who deal with that, my heart goes out to you. So the reason why I started physical therapy is back in February of this year when things got really bad, like I mentioned. I felt like I hit this giant wall. No matter what I did, no matter how well I ate, no matter what supplements I took, no matter how hard I worked on the vision and brain rehabilitation, I just could not get past this point that I was. I knew my body was pretty jacked up over the past year and a half, but I kind of had this theory where maybe if I was able to strengthen certain things, that would then make other things easier. Posture has become literally my number one thing I'm focusing on right now. And if you've ever kind of just felt in the back of your head where your suboccipital areas are, press on them, move your eyes, and you can feel your suboccipital area move with you. And that's really where I was having a ton of problems. It would get to the point where it was so painful and on fire back there, like I've described it before. It felt like someone would take a screwdriver that was on fire and stick it in the back of my skull. And with that, I would feel it straight to my eye. So again, my theory was if I strengthened that area, maybe it would help. So posture can kind of be a jerk, and it's not easy by any means, especially if you're in a place where you're struggling. There's so many conflicting thoughts and opinions where it can almost do more harm than good. One thing that I would see consistently is just, oh, keep your head up straight. And I feel like the default for most people is just to do this. And in my case, where I had a hard time holding my head up straight, I was doing this, walking around, and really just kind of exacerbating things. I feel like a good rule of thumb is to see where your ear lines up to your shoulder, because if we were to exaggerate things and showcase forward head posture with rounded shoulders, that's what this looks like. And we want to bring that back into a more straightened position where the ears are closer to the shoulders. And if you're in that world, that's a much better place to be. The tricky part with that, though, is you also have to pay attention to the rest of your body, because if your head is straight up, but maybe your butt sticking out back this way, then that's a lot more work that this whole area is having to do. Conversely, if you're keeping your head up and your chest out and your body is swinging this way, that's not good either. Mind you, I am no means perfect or an expert on this. I'm working at it every single day. But the general idea is we want to have our head straight, kind of pulling up almost as if there was a string pulling your head up. Your chin is tucked, your chest is out, your butt and core and pelvic floor is also engaged right here. So we're trying to keep everything really locked in. And again, it's not an easy thing to do. I feel like we hear so much about forward head posture and tech neck, but I feel like there's this whole separate world of vision problems that are directly correlated due to poor posture. These glasses aren't your typical glasses. They're more of a safety or backup for me if I'm having a rougher day. They're not a prescription because I do still have to wear my scleral hard contact lenses, but they're prism based. So I talked about it in a previous video where initially I had a ton of problems with converging and diverging. So convergence is up close, divergence is further away. So this will actually allow my brain and eyes to work less and fuse those images from a distance easier. It can definitely become a band-aid or a crutch, which is why I try to use them sparingly if I can towards the end of the day if I'm really tired or if I'm just having a bad day. Plus, the sclerals are doing so much work that it kind of defeats the purpose to throw these on top of those. But when I was hitting that wall doing vision therapy, I would find myself towards the end of the day so wiped out with so much neck and back of head strain that's really where I decided to jump into the physical therapy. And I've gotten to the point where divergence has gotten better and it's not straining me as much as it did before. There are absolutely days that still really suck, but if you're someone who does deal with brain fog or headaches, or maybe you've done vision therapy like myself and you feel like you're hitting a wall, I would absolutely pay attention to posture. So physical therapy has helped tremendously. As much as I didn't want to admit it, I grabbed an iron neck off of Amazon and it's stupidly overpriced. I wish it was maybe $100 cheaper. This is not sponsored because I reached out to them and they actually ghosted me. Actually, they were pretty responsive initially when they were trying to get me to buy one. But once I reached out and asked if, hey, would you guys like to collaborate or could I borrow one? ghost town. Even after I bought one on Amazon, I sent them a video that I was using it with my physical therapist and making great progress, and still ghost town. So I'm probably not Joe Rogan enough, or maybe I don't scream enough, but Iron Neck team, you guys should not ignore the nerds as well. At that same time too, I also want that to be a message of never take an attitude, or I can't stand when creators or YouTubers get to a point where they feel like they're owed or they deserve something, because at the same time, that would also be idiotic to do, where just because Iron Neck ignored me, if it's a helpful product, I want to talk about it and share it because it might help someone out there as well. So with that Iron Neck, I absolutely integrate it into physical therapy in a more demanding sense, but I also will try to use it every day, if not every other day, just simply as a warm-up. It's a great way to get things loosened and stretched up, and you can quite literally feel blood flow start to come through, which is pretty awesome. So something I'll do as I've made progress, and absolutely please consult your doctor or your physical therapist before jumping into this, but I'll actually integrate kettlebells into it. And it's not for lifting or for weights, it's just simply to help gravity kind of do its thing. I'll usually start out simply just by going in circles, and what that does is forces me to keep my core engaged, keep stabilizers in my neck. And if you try this out, you're going to end up using stabilizers that you probably didn't know existed. So with those kettlebells, again, I'm not lifting, I'm just kind of letting gravity do its thing. And what's nice here is it's pulling the shoulders down, and you're also getting a really nice stretch, especially up towards your SCM. The other unexpected byproduct of all this work is if you have any TMJ or jaw pain, that has gotten tremendously better just by strengthening all this. Once I'm a little loose, then I'll kind of go to one side and turn my head to the left. I'll probably do that about 10 times. You can then integrate maybe looking up or half moons. A more advanced move would be to look to the side and then into your back pocket. And that was something that I couldn't do maybe 2 months ago just because it was so tight, especially near the trap area. I will then flip things to the other side, look right. Again, do that for about 10 times, repeat looking up and those half moons, and that makes such a tremendous difference. You could absolutely use a resistance band, which is infinitely cheaper, but I found myself with a resistance band sometimes overstretching or going too far. So with the Iron Neck, as silly as it might seem, it feels like it's keeping you in line so you're not doing too much and aggravating. That's another piece of advice or tip I would throw out there. If you have an area that's struggling, instinctively, I think we want to stretch the area that hurts. But what I found is strengthening the areas around it that support it is going to help you way more. So as much as I didn't want to admit it, the Iron Neck has been a really helpful part of my process alongside physical therapy. Also want to give a shout out to Yeesol, who saw my videos and sent out a bike and a rowing machine, which has been super important because everything I'm trying to do alongside posture is also to strengthen my back, especially upper back, and that's going to take a lot of tension off your traps and SCM, which all makes a huge difference. Again, this is clearly not sponsored. Iron Neck, stop ignoring the nerds, but I did recently set up an Amazon affiliate account, so if you do want to check that out, I'll have it linked below. And kind of weird, funny story, affiliate linking has always been tough for me. Like, I had a really hard time doing it over the years. And I know that sounds stupid, almost to the point too, where I kind of had this internal rule of friends don't affiliate link friends. Someone asked something on Twitter, then I usually would see someone hop in with an affiliate link. And I get, supporting friends is cool, but something about it always made me feel weird. And I know that's something that I got to get over. Anyways, long ramble. If you guys want to check that out, it supports the channel. I appreciate you. The other thing that has helped me tremendously is red light therapy. And I know it might sound a little out there or hokey pokey, but there's a ton of science backing it up. I'll definitely break it down further in another video, but if you've ever seen a flashlight or a light source go through your hand or through your finger or thumb, the reason why you see red is not because of your blood. It's that the red wavelength of light is the only one that will go through skin. So you have red and near infrared. Red pretty much will attack the skin or surface level, and then near infrared will penetrate deeper, and that's going to stimulate healing and also reduce inflammation. In one of my videos, I had showcased a handheld unit from Mito Red Light. That was something that I purchased. They then saw that video, reached out, and sent over a bigger unit, which has been tremendous. It's something that I use every single day and really does make a difference. So if you want to see that covered in a different video, definitely let me know. And again, it's not sponsored. I have no affiliate link from them, but if you want to check one of those out for yourself, that is also linked down below. The other update is because the last couple weeks I missed a few things, specifically in the video with Bill Gates. I was supposed to link a couple used tech deals that I completely forgot. Some of those have sold out. There are still some available, specifically a really cool light tube from Astera with a softbox, a Manfrotto tripod head and hi-hat. I also have a couple desk options, but that is going to be a local pickup or drop off. So if you buy this and you're outside Southern California, I will refund it. There is a Vizio soundbar that's pretty sick and does Dolby Atmos. There's one dent on this thing, but it comes with the sub, so it's going to be discounted pretty heavily if you do want to jump on a killer deal. There is also an OWC 8 terabyte Thunderblade, which is stupidly fast and I think sells for somewhere around $1,500. And then something fun that I wanted to do is I've kind of gotten through the last of everything that was at the old office space. There's so many accessories and smaller things that just accumulated over the 10 plus years that was there that it would be impossible to sell every single one of those. So what I wanted to do is put together little tech mystery packs. But the idea is it'll be something similar to what you see here, where it'll be $100, but you'll probably get around $200 to $400 worth of tech products and accessories. I've always tried to do that over the years and just kind of offload tech that isn't being used for more, and you guys get a killer deal at the same time. So if you want to jump on that, definitely check it out. But other than that, thank you guys for listening and supporting. So whether you guys check out those links, whether you want to become a channel member, hop over to Patreon, or like I said, really one of the best things you can do is just continue to watch the videos. So if you haven't, definitely subscribe, turn on notifications, check out the Insta360 X5 video, the Bill Gates Best Tech Under 50. I'll throw a playlist together, so if you just want to watch that or throw it on in the background, even that would be cool. And I'm excited for the upcoming videos, so stay tuned for those. Thank you so much again. This is Jonathan, and I will catch you guys later.